They believe the president abused his power and betrayed the country. They also made renewed calls to junk the visiting forces agreement.
Simula't simula ay nasa custody ng Estados Unidos si Pemberton. Hindi siya napunta sa ilalim ng authority at custody ng ating bansa. Yun ang hinahabol natin, hindi siya karapat-dapat sa absolute pardon.
Gabriela Party List likewise denounced the pardon given to Pemberton, saying it reflects the president's ambivalence in keeping an independent foreign policy.
Nailantad ngayon ang balat kayong independent foreign policy at kunwaring pagwawakas sa VFA o Visiting Forces Agreement na binawi din naman ng presidente.
The camp of the Laudes, meanwhile, are still left reeling from the developments. Jennifer Laudes' mother, Julita, said she is deeply hurt after President Duterte issued the pardon. She said Pemberton's supposed 10-year imprisonment would have been a small price to pay for taking the life of her daughter. Prior to being granted pardon, Pemberton was also set for early release after an Olongapo City Court made the order, citing good conduct. For News 5, Patricia Mangune. We are One News.
The Department of Health says U.S.-based vaccine developers did not set any conditions to give Philippines access to any potential COVID-19 vaccine. This after presidential spokesman Harry Roque said that President Duterte could have granted absolute pardon to former U.S. soldier Joseph Scott Pemberton to help the country obtain vaccines from American pharmaceutical companies. But according to Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere, they had discussions with different manufacturers, including those from the United States. No conditions were provided at all, he said.
Hindi po tayo naka-receive ng kahit na anumang kondisyon na ganito. Based from the discussions that we have had with the different manufacturer or the manufacturer from US. And katulad ng lagi naming sinasabi, lahat po ng bakuna na papasok dito para masiguro nating safe yan at para masiguro.
Meanwhile, Vergere said the World Health Organization solidarity trials for potential COVID-19 vaccine in the Philippines could begin next month. The DOH says the WHO will start identifying vaccine candidates that will be included in the trial from the 3rd or 4th week of September. Then, by the end of the month, they will designate the sites where the test will be conducted. By the last week of October, the WHO hopes to formally commence with the solidarity trials. The Transportation Department has announced its plan to bring down the physical distancing among bus and train passengers to 0.75 meters. But the Health Department says, hold your horses. This matter needs to be thoroughly discussed first to make sure commuters' health will not be compromised. Gerard De La Peña with the details.
The Transportation Department announced that the IATF has approved their proposal to gradually reduce the required physical distance among commuters inside trains and buses. The plan aims to provide more space for passengers as the economy opens gradually. Transportation Secretary Arthur Tugadi says transport spaces must be optimized safely as more workers are expected to return to work. In a presentation to the IATF, the DOTr showed that commuters continue to strictly follow health protocols, such as the mandatory wearing of face masks and shield. This gives the agency the confidence that it is now safe to ease up physical distancing rules. As of now, there is a 1-meter gap in between seats inside trains and buses. The DOTr wants to reduce this to 0.75 meters starting Monday. The distance will be decreased to half a meter after 2 weeks and to just 0.3 meters after another 2 weeks. Railway lines are in turn expected to increase passenger capacity in line with the adjusted social distancing measures. The LRT-1 is seen to increase capacity per train set from the current 155 to 204 once physical distancing is reduced to 0.75 meters. LRT-2, on the other hand, is seen to increase capacity from 160 to 212. The MRT from 153 to 204 and the PNR from 166 to 184. Transportation officials also plan to allow standing passengers inside buses. The plan was set to be ready for implementation on Monday, but the Health Department said they are still in talks with the DOTr on how to effectively implement the move while also containing the spread of COVID-19. The Transport Department was supposed to hold a virtual press conference on the measure this afternoon, but this was postponed to make way for their discussions with the Health Department. The DOTr said that they are ready to postpone the plan until matters are cleared among various stakeholders.
So ngayon ay pinag-uusapan na natin ito ngayon with the Department of Transportation. Nagkakaroon na ng pag-uusap-usap kung paano natin magagawa ito without, of course, compromising on this physical distance measures that we are saying.
Dr. Anthony Liachon, who was previously a consultant to the IATF, said the matter has to be thoroughly studied. Liachon warned that the same move led to the second wave of COVID-19 cases in South Korea. The DOTr said they will soon notify the public about the implementation of the reduced physical distancing after its meeting with the DOH and the IATF. For News 5, Gerard de la Peña, We Are One News.
A member of the DOTr research group says they regret having said that the country is finally flattening the curve on COVID-19. In an interview with Agenda, DOTr research fellow Guido David said the term did indeed cause confusion and different interpretations among the public. He said the trend of COVID-19 cases in the country is coming down as the reproduction number, or R0, improved from 1.5 to 1.1. R0 is a term that indicates how contagious a disease is. But David reminds the public that the pandemic is far from over and the quarantine measures should still be strictly observed.
Sort of regret using kasi it's causing a lot of confusion kasi people have different interpretations of flattening of the curve. Yung ginamit namin na interpretations, the second one, which is nagdi-decrease na yung reproduction number to it's less than 1, which is how we measured it, less than 1 na siya. So it's a decreasing trend. It doesn't mean na tapos na yung pandemic.
The Joint Task Force COVID-19 Shield has created a Facebook account where netizens can report quarantine violations posted on social media. Concerned netizens can now send tips to the COVID Shield Facebook page by tagging them in pictures and videos that are supposedly showing quarantine violations. They can also message the page if they want to stay anonymous. JTF COVID-19 Shield Commander Guillermo Eliazar says these tips will be verified with barangay officials. Eliazar earlier announced their plans to monitor social media platforms to apprehend more quarantine violators. Hospitals in Metro Manila are reporting a decrease in non-COVID-19 patients getting admitted to their facilities due to fear of contracting the virus. But doctors assure them nothing to worry about. Laila Pangilinan with that story.
Since reaching full capacity for COVID-19 last July, the Chinese General Hospital and Medical Center in Manila is unable to accept new patients infected with the disease. Because of this, non-COVID patients who need regular treatment and therapy are hesitant to go to the hospital. This delays their chance of faster recovery from their illness. Chinese General Hospital's Medical Director Dr. Samyang said there's a significant drop in admissions for non-COVID patients in most hospitals in the NCR.
All major hospitals in the country, most specifically in Metro Manila, big centers like Makati, St. Luke's, Global Medical City, or even Chinese. Our non-COVID admissions really dropped. Nobody wants to come into the hospital.
That's why he tells their non-COVID patients that there's nothing to worry about when they go to their hospital.
Our cancer patients and our heart patients, especially cancer patients, they delay the diagnosis. That's why we want to reach out to the community to tell them that our hospital is equipped to separate the COVID and non-COVID.
Despite rooms being at almost full capacity, doctors said they are now seeing the effect of the 2-week MECQ implemented early last month, following the unified calls for timeout by medical professional groups.
So nag-umpisa tayo 2 weeks ago na nagpa-plateau ang mga positive nating results. Ngayon, bumababa na siya.
As of yesterday, 47% of COVID-19 dedicated ICU beds in hospitals across the country are occupied, while 45% of isolation beds and 48% ward beds designated for COVID-19 patients are currently in use. Meanwhile, the Private Hospitals Association of the Philippines confirms that there has been a decrease of hospital admissions for COVID-19. PHAP Vice President Leo Olarte said this could be attributed to the improvement of COVID-19 response.
Nag-decrease na ngayon kasi medyo nag-i-improve na yung ating curve. Parang flattening, magkakaroon na ng flattening ng curve. Bumababa na rin yung ating swab test at saka yung antibody test.
Olarte also commended the public's discipline in following quarantine measures and health standards.
Nakita na nila ang importansya dito na sunod-sunod kaya mas-flatten yung curve. May operasyon na yung pag-isip.
For News 5, Laila Pangilinan, We Are One News.
Companies under the Metro Pacific Group are helping to prepare the East Avenue Medical Center as a COVID-19 referral hospital. PLDT and Meralco donated 45 million pesos worth of hospital equipment to East Avenue Medical Center, which is one of the government-designated facilities for COVID-19. Its new building has been repurposed and can now accommodate 250 COVID-19 patients. The MVP Group says it has also partnered with pharmaceutical companies that are developing COVID-19 vaccines abroad.
I know the government is doing as well, but the private sector is trying to help out in procuring those vaccines so that the country is ready to accommodate the supply of those vaccines when indeed they're developed and accepted. No.
We'll take a short break. More stories when we return. Please stay with us. President Duterte has signed the Bayanihan to Recover as One Act or Bayanihan 2 into law. This would allocate 165 billion pesos for economic recovery program and COVID-19 response. The House Makabayan bloc, though, is pushing for their own economic stimulus measure as an alternative to both Bayanihan 2 and the Arise bill to address the impact of COVID-19. This measure is dubbed as SHIELD, or the People's Strategy for Strengthening Health, Social Protection, Economic, and Local Industrial Development Bill, worth more than 1 trillion pesos in the proposal. Under the SHIELD bill, workers infected with COVID-19 will be required to be provided a 14-day paid quarantine leave as well as free COVID-19 treatment. Teachers and students will also be provided aid and protection under the proposed measure as the education system shifts to distance learning. Makabayan bloc lawmakers said the SHIELD bill would respond to health needs which, according to them, were not properly addressed by the administration's Bayanihan law.
merong mga stratehikong mga panukala rito, no, mga programa na sa tingin namin ay talagang maging solusyon doon sa nakaugat ng problema ng ating pangkalusugan, ng ating pang-ekonomiya, no.
Communications Undersecretary Lorraine Badoy says she is willing to step down from her post if several lawmakers from the Makabayan bloc adhere to her conditions. In a lengthy Facebook post, Badoy challenged party list representatives Franz Castro, Carlos Zarate, and Sara Ilago, among others, to condemn the supposed abuses perpetrated by communist groups. Badoy also wants the lawmakers to swear their allegiance to the government and work hand in hand to put an end to insurgency. Badoy, whose red tagging had forced the suspension of budget giving for the PCOO, also urged Makabayan lawmakers to call for the surrender of PPP founder Joma Sison. If these demands are not met, she will issue an apology, or rather, she said, if these demands are met, she will issue an apology to the lawmakers and submit her resignation to the president. Communications Assistant Secretary Chris Abdan said in the 1PH program sa Totoo Lang, they will talk to Badoy to resolve the matter. They will also try to make amends with the Makabayan bloc. Despite this, Ablan still acknowledged Badoy's role in the agency, and he says they hope these matters will not require the resignation of anyone.
Yusek Badoy po is an integral personality po at the PCO. Hopefully, it does not take na somebody has to resign. No? So hopefully, we can make things work po.
The National Water Resources Board is set to reduce the water allocation of Angat Dam to Metro Manila after its reserve dipped below minimum operating levels. But despite allaying fears that supply for consumers will not be affected, the public is still being urged to conserve water as Maynilad is gearing for supply interruptions next week. Carlo Francisco gives us details.
Since July, the water level in Angat Dam has been decreasing. As of today, it stands at 178.1 meters, just below the minimum operating level of 180 meters.
Yung mga rainfall na supposedly padating, no, inasang dumating yung July and August ay hindi nakarating, hindi na-realize, no, based sa projection ng Pag-asa. So halos wala pa yatang kalahati, no, yung pinoproject natin.
With this, the National Water Resources Board, or NWRB, decided to decrease the allocation of Angat Dam for Metro Manila this month. Allaying fears of supply shortage, the board noted that there are other sources available, such as the La Mesa Dam and Laguna Lake, especially with local rainfalls now being experienced in these areas.
Even noong August, kahit 48 yun, hindi naman nagamit lahat yun, ano? If you look at the record, I think, 48 noong August, ang NWSS, siguro ang nagamit lang niya mga 45.
Meanwhile, Maynilad will once again implement water interruption next week beginning Thursday night. Around 249,000 households will be affected by a 14 to 24-hour service interruption.
Pagka northeast monsoon po kasi, ang direksyon ng tubig, ang direksyon ng hangin doon sa Laguna Lake is papunta po doon sa planta namin. So meaning po, mas na-i-scar po niya yung yung mga sills doon sa Laguna Lake at nagko-cause po ng mas maduming tubig na pumapasok sa amin. So ipinaprepare lang po namin yung aming planta na kaya po niya matreat itong mas challenging na raw water quality.
Maynilad assures the public that there will also be security personnel during the deployment of water tankers to ensure physical distancing. For now, Maynilad is advising affected customers to store water. Shaila Francisco, we are One News.
And here are the other big stories you're watching today. Malacanang is respecting the move made by the National Telecommunications Commission to recall the TV and radio frequencies assigned to ABS-CBN. Presidential spokesman Harry Roque said in a text message that it is a consequence of no longer having a franchise. The NTC ordered to recall ABS-CBN's frequencies after the media giant failed to secure the renewal of its congressional franchise, which expired last May. Total foreign investments approved by the government plugged 68.8% in the second quarter, down to 15.5 billion pesos. This means approved foreign investments declined by 34.1 billion pesos from the almost 50 billion pesos recorded in last year's second quarter. Approved foreign investments refer to the amount of committed contributions to foreign entities to various projects in the country, as approved and registered by the 7 investment promotion agencies or IPAs. But the second quarter investment pledges reported by the PSA only came from 6 of these IPAs. PSA also notes approved investments of foreign and Filipino nationals in the second quarter are expected to generate more than 36,000 jobs, higher than last year's projected employment of 30,000. Environment groups jogged and biked their way to Manila Bay today to protest the White Sand project of the Department of Environment and Natural Resources. Fisherfolk Group Pamalakaya, along with other green groups, said the project's 389 million peso budget may have been used for mangrove reforestation instead. They believe dolomite sands will just be a threat to Manila-based marine life and its fishermen. And more than 1,000 nurses may possibly be included in the exemption of the ongoing deployment ban of health workers abroad. That is, as long as they complete their papers for overseas employment by August 31. Labor Secretary Silvestre Villo says he recommended the exemption to the IATF when more nurses with perfect contacts asked him to allow them to be deployed to other countries. In March, up to 900 nurses with perfect contacts had already been allowed by the IATF to work abroad. The IATF approved Villo's recommendation, saying the country will lose no more than 3,000 nurses due to this move. Veteran broadcast journalist Ted Filon is now officially a kapatid after formally signing with TV5. A contract signing ceremony was held at Pasig City with TV5 President and CEO Robert Galang. For Galang, the addition of Filon will help strengthen the news organization of TV5. Joining Filon in jumping to the kapatid network is Sarina Marie Guevara, more popularly known as DJ Chacha. The two are set to host a 4-hour news magazine radio program over at Radio 92.3 News FM beginning October 5. The portion of the show will be simulcast on TV5 and 1PH.
Sobrang excited, hindi na ako nakakatulog eh. Di ba, mga baong puyat? Ganun po ka-excited. Sobrang excited dahil magagawa na po namin ang aming matagal nang iniisip na konsepto sa radyo with DJ Chacha.
Masaya, super excited. Bago to sa akin kasi nga parang yung pinanggalingan ko, sobrang tagal ko doon. So this is really something new for me. Very challenging itong bagong trabaho. And kung paano nyo kami minahal before, promise namin sa inyo, mas tatawa kayo, mas maraming information, may balita pa rin. At syempre yung kilig ng tandem namin ni Papa Ted Filon.
And that wraps up today's big story. Catch us again on Monday, 8 p.m., Signal Channels 8 and 250. Please like our Facebook page, One News. For more in-depth analysis, visit our webpage, onenews.ph. I'm Robbie Alampay. We are One News. Good evening.